All right, let's talk about the Siberian Revolution. Siberian, not Siberian, Siberian. The Siberian Revolution. Now, Serbia, as we see right here, Serbia was a part of the Ottoman Empire in the beginning of the modern era. Basically, there was a revolution that was launched because people of Serbia wanted to be free. Many of them were tired of the taxes that they had to pay to the Ottoman Empire. They had extra taxes because this is a predominantly Christian area, and they had to pay more taxes to the Ottoman Empire. Also, we had for years the Devashemi and the Janissaries were taken from these parts of Europe and were brought into the Ottoman system. And Serbia wants to be free. They have a number of uprisings against the Ottoman Empire, and they are eventually able to become independent Balkan states. Along with, we see during this time, 1878 in the Balkans, we see Romania, Serbia, Montenegro, and Greece as they fight for independence against the Ottoman Empire, which they eventually achieve. This is significant because the Ottoman Empire is definitely in the downslide in the modern era. It will cease to be an empire by 1918, and we start seeing more independent countries in Eastern and Southern and Eastern Europe. Also, this area will become very much a hotbed. Russia gets involved in here, and the conflicts here will also lead to World War I, which will come up in our next era. So it is a significant area in world history. All right, white man's burden. Yeah, this is pretty horribly racist. This was the ideal in the era of imperialism that Europeans, here we see a British person, and people from the United States or the Americas, that white people were supposed to carry other people to civilization. That was their burden they had to take onto them to imperialize countries in Africa, Asia, in Latin America, around the world. We can see definitely here some Asia, Africa. We see Africa, Philippines, Cuba. That the United States is supposed to take them out of their horrible existence in their societies they were living and bring them through civilization. Now, of course, what that overlooks is that the white people in America and Europe are taking resources from them, are robbing them, and that these people's lives become much, much, much worse. Not to mention these are all racist caricatures up here. They're obviously very racist caricatures of many people in the world. So, white people, Europeans, Americans, white people legitimately felt this time when they were imperializing a place like the Congo and killing many of the people there, that they were helping them advance in civilization and they'd be better off and that they would be more like Europeans and Americans. Obviously, this meant the Europeans and Americans did not take time to bother to understand these cultures that they were taking over, or even the history of these civilizations that have been many, some of the most advanced societies for thousands of years in history. The significance of this is it lets a mindset in that it's okay for Europeans and Americans to take over land. It's a way of justifying, basically robbing much of the world of the resources that they have. That's white man's burden. Social Darwinism, we'll talk about this one with eugenics. Social Darwinism took Darwin's theories about how species evolve, like how different animals evolve, how different animals evolve and adapt to their surroundings, and took the term survival of the fittest and said, well, survival of the fittest, social Darwinism, must exist for people too. And as a way of saying that basically white people or people of European descent, Northern European, were more advanced than other people. Even divided up white people, so that basically Anglo or British, French, German people were more advanced than than Irish people or black people in this case. Basically, social Darwinism tries to say that white people thought they brought all this civilization, so they're more advanced, and these other people are not as advanced. This really leads to some horrible, horrible events in the modern era. And it justifies that if other people die in places like Africa, South America, that's okay because the fittest should survive and others should die. Just think about that for a minute, how horribly racist that is. So this is during the age of imperialism, and this is a way of white people justifying that, well, we're taking over more because we're better. Forgets the fact that Europe was ass backwards for, from the Roman Empire all the way up till about 1492, and wasn't as advanced as the Muslim societies were at that time, or societies in West Africa or China. Anyway, so social Darwinism is this idea, and it's based on our next term, which is eugenics, which is a false science. There's no scientific merit to it all. This false science that by looking at people's skulls and studying them, that you could find who was more advanced. And the idea was to try to scientifically prove that white people were more advanced than other people. Very significant for both social Darwinism and eugenics because it justifies basically white Europeans taking over the world and saying, well, we should because we're the fittest, and if others die in the process, well, that's just the way it's supposed to be. It's Darwinism. Darwin never would have went along with this theory. Scientists don't. If you talk about biology at all, there's no genetic difference between people when it comes to brains or intelligence or anything like that at all. That's never been proven. It never will be, with our biology that we have. This is a myth. This is a justification of theft that Europeans were doing during the age of imperialism. A pretty horrible one, too. So that's the significance, but this will lead to a lot of justification. We're saying that it's okay for Europeans to take land that they are doing at this time. Okay, those are our vocab words. Those last couple ones were pretty tough ones. Good luck on the packet, guys.